Hey there. Yeah, it's been a while since one of these videos, huh? I did a bit of experimentation and took a break, but I felt like it was about time to get back into the swing of things. So let's just hop right into it. First up, HyperSpark269 gives me a very interesting fact regarding assist trophies and grabs. You know how normally when you KO an assist trophy, there's this zoom in effect and they get launched and basically just blow up, akin to a stamina mode KO. Well, this prompt suggests that if you grab the assist trophy during this quick animation period, it'll actually forego the KO. I had a pretty simple setup. I just used a home run bat to get them near KO levels and then a superstar just to keep the process smooth, and I threw into the air and prepared to grab. And when this is done right, yeah, we do save it. The Hammer Bro is back and as good as ever. He's retaining his yellow glow that indicates that he's near death, but everything else is fine. Actually, it's kind of more than fine. Under normal circumstances, the Hammer Bro will only stay out for about 15 seconds. And during this time, small moves such as Lucas's jab or down tilt would successfully flinch him, even if not KOing. But when you save his life, all of a sudden he seems to have this form of super armor, where none of these weaker moves are making him flinch at all. And on top of that, it's been well over 15 seconds and he's still out. I even waited around 10 minutes to see if there was a limit, and at that point I didn't reach it, so who can even say if there is one. You can still KO him though, if you use a strong enough move. When this happens, they just blow up. There's no special animation or slowdown or anything like it. I kept stacking on weaker moves, and at some point the screen started shaking for certain hits, which is normally the indicator that something is taking high knockback. And when I finally did a strong move to KO it, you can see that it ended up taking way more knockback than the prior example. Or at the very least that knockback was faster. So it did seem to store extra damage and acted accordingly. Keep in mind all this stuff would only work with assist trophies that you can KO. And on top of that, you need to be able to grab them in the first place. So ones like the Black Knight won't work. It also didn't seem to work for the Starman either, despite being able to grab him. It looks like there's a slight pause when I attempt to grab after the KO, but I guess due to the cool and unique smash animation that accompanies, he might just be built different. It does work on Waluigi, and the same type of super armor and whatnot gets applied to him. However, he doesn't stick around forever, as once his scheduled finishing blow happens, he just disappears. And I tested Midna just because it was pretty easy, and she worked just like the Hammer Bro with super armor and not despawning and all that. I gotta say, a Midna that doesn't despawn and doesn't flinch to weak moves is actually kinda scary. I mean, only kinda. It doesn't take that much to break that armor and KO her instantly, but you know. And before I forget, no, this would not work on Ditto because it doesn't really work the same way as assist trophies. They have some sort of pseudo stamina system built in, while Ditto actually has to take knockback and hit the blast zone in order to be KO'd. So grabbing it would just prevent that KO the same as any other character. At least as far as I've tested and can just assume. And yes, it was at this point in the testing that I remembered the mechanic where the person who spawned the assist trophy is able to attack it once it's at very low health. Sorta like a way to steal the KO from the opponent. A noble sacrifice. So you can just grab your own assist that's about to get KO'd and this will accomplish the same exact thing. And the setup is way easier than all that nonsense I was doing before. Now normally when I remember something like this, I just go back and redo the other sections with my new information. But this time I'll just keep everything the same, and now if I see any comments being like, well, Pink Eye Beach, you can grab your own assist when it's at low health, so you should have done that. I'll know that you didn't watch the full video or section before commenting, and we in the YouTube industry call that cringe. Anyhow, yeah, that's all the information you should need to test this out for yourself with other assist trophies of interest. So if you find out anything cool, as usual, just tell me down in the comments or in my Twitter DMs. Speaking of which, this next fact was given to me in my Twitter DMs by Lars Depor regarding Greninja's side smash when the game is slowed down. Just for a helpful reference, this is what Greninja's side smash normally looks like. It's just a normal slice, right? And here's what it looks like when I change the speed of training mode to 2/3. It's kinda different, isn't it? While with the normal version there's a clean arc going from the bottom to the top, here there's this weird jagged rise in the middle of the swing, and you can even see the angles in the trail. This also happens with the timer item, so basically just when Greninja is slowed down. Out of curiosity, I wanted to see what it looked like from other angles, and from here it doesn't look glitched or anything. The blade looks fine and the animation seems generally normal. All that's different is the positioning it goes throughout the swing. At first I had the idea that it's because at a normal speed, the main swing arc, the part that gets messed up, happens in just one frame. So I thought that perhaps the animation just couldn't handle being slowed down for whatever reason, but that logic doesn't really make sense to me in general, and it gets even less reasonable when you consider that this happens when you use the F smash when training mode is sped up. So I guess, as is the case for quite a few other things in the game apparently, changing the speed in any way just messes with the move for whatever reason. It's not just slowdown. Man, we really do see that a lot on this channel, don't we? Now, functionally, I don't think this is any different than normal. The damage is identical, and the hitbox looks like it should be different, but I could never really see that come into play. I tested in various types of situations with size change and crouches and ledge grabs and all that, and nothing really made me think that the slowdown F smash was actually different. It's possible there is a slight change, but if there is, it's way too slight for me to practically test, and therefore it probably doesn't mean much. Next up, did you know that the DK on Donkey Kong's tie actually stands for D's nuts? Next, Examine623 tells us a little fact about the blocks on Yoshi's Island. Normally these blocks only take a few seconds to become solid again, after they're spun. But you might notice that this one isn't. That's because the way these blocks apparently work is that they don't stop spinning if someone is near them. Given the fact that the middle block here goes back to normal, it's likely that the distance is about 1 block away. So as long as you stand within a block's distance of the spinning block, it seems it cannot go back to normal. And this doesn't distinguish between who initially spun the block or anything. As long as some player is near it, it'll keep spinning. We can even see this in real time. Look as I stand on the very edge of this invisible threshold, and presumably Mario's bobbing animation goes in and out. We can see the spinning animation change every so often, as it likely keeps getting updated. And if you see the block start to slow down, that means it's becoming solid again. So if you walk back into the threshold during this period, it'll start spinning again. This is one of those things that I feel like I should have known, but I guess it's not very frequent that people just completely stand still for long periods of time right next to a spinning block on this map, so I didn't know about this. And the spinning blocks on Mario Maker do not function like this. They're basically identical to the normal bricks, meaning once it's broken, or spinning, it'll only be fixed once the Holy Hand of God replaces it. Next, Hedgeon gives me an interesting fact regarding Sonic's up special animation. You know how with King Dedede, if you cancel his up special really close to the floor, he'll do this goofy flop animation and the end lag would be way longer. Apparently Sonic has something similar. If you land with his up special very soon after its peak, he'll do this animation. In terms of appearance, this isn't actually different from his normal landing animation. He still does that same superhero pose and whatnot. But in here, it's actually twice as long. Considering that, you might think, well hey, it's gotta have some extra end lag, right? Just like King Dedede's unique animation. Well actually, it seems to be the contrary. Upon normally landing, it takes around 12 or so frames before the shield comes out. But here, it's at 4 frames, way quicker. So in that case, it seems like it's actually better to land Sonic's up special close to its peak, counter to King Dedede. The timing seems to be based around how many somersaults Sonic has done. I believe if you land sometime before the first somersault is fully done, then this longer and apparently safer animation will take place. Whereas if he starts doing his second spin around, it'll be a shorter yet less safe animation. Also, air dodging before you land will remove the faster, unique animation, and instead you'll just do the normal animation. So that's pretty cool. Next, Valerio B36 gives me a nice list of information regarding characters in Sephiroth's Final Smash. Have you ever noticed that sometimes at the beginning of Sephiroth's Final Smash, everyone is looking straight at Sephiroth, but there's always just some characters who never follow suit. They're always looking to the left side or something. Well, Valerio has given us a list of characters who do this. That list being Marth, Lucina, Roy, but not Chrom, he's fine, Toon Link, Rosalina, Bayonetta, and Sephiroth himself. Also, it was here that I realized that the CPU AI will actually get confused by the reverse controls effect and be unable to recover, which I thought was actually kind of funny. Anyway, I gotta say, it's really weird why they don't look forward. I mean, looking into the Z-axis isn't normal for any character, barring any glitches, so they clearly did something to make the majority of the cast look towards Sephiroth. It's especially baffling how inconsistent this fault is. What with how Roy looks nowhere near towards Sephiroth, yet Chrom mostly does. I mean, his back isn't turned to the camera like most other characters, but at least his gaze goes to the direction of Sephiroth? I don't know. And in these faulty characters, they always face left for some reason. no matter which way they were facing beforehand. I don't know, I got no theories as to why it happens, but it always stuck out like a sore thumb, and it always, well, it looks pretty funny actually, so. Like there's this giant all-powerful godlike thing readying up an attack, and Marth's just looking off to the side like, oh, I forgot to marinate tonight's chicken, or something, I don't know. Next, I thought about this a while ago, but in Palutena's guidance about Dark Pit, Raighne mentions how the lightning chariot is under her control, even though new to this game. Lightning chariot! Yeah, looks kinda under Pit's control now, huh? I don't know, I just thought that's kinda funny. I'm pretty sure these lines are identical to Smash 4, where Pit's final smash was just the 3 sacred treasures, but you know. Also, apparently you cannot activate Palutena's guidance when a Smash Ball was on the field, which I didn't know before. And if you activate one while dialogue is happening, it'll just suddenly stop. So I guess keep that in mind. Lastly for this video, Examine623 returns to give me a few tweets regarding damage boosting in certain attacks. If you give Yoshi any spirits that boost his damage capabilities, you might notice that when you use Egg Lay, the opponent breaks out way quicker than they normally would. And if you give Yoshi the customized +3 power thing, they'll break out almost instantly. This is weird, because Egg Lay is one of those moves where the higher the percent of the opponent, the longer they stay trapped for. So you'd think that if you were stronger and therefore dealt more damage, it would therefore last at least a little longer than normal. And yet here we see the exact opposite. Also on the flip side, I found that if you use Egg Lay when your damage output is lower, they actually stay trapped for slightly longer than normal. Again, the opposite of what I would have thought. This isn't the only time increasing damage output makes things weird. If you use Falco's down throw when you're way stronger than normal, it'll actually kind of fail. There'll be this weird grab release before the move is fully finished. Granted, this actually kind of works in the move's favor as it technically opens up some more combos. But this is weird on a whole other level because I didn't even know that Falco's down throw was something that could be interrupted like this. I tried a couple other throws that I thought were kinda similar, but nothing ever got cancelled. So if anyone figures out more about this, as usual, leave a comment down below. Anyhow, I think that'll do it for this epic series revival. I mean, really it's only been about 3 months since the last episode, but you know. So yeah, if you've been following the channel and community posts and whatnot, you'll already know what I'm talking about, but if you look at my recent uploads and their dates, you'll see that I've used the start of this year to take a bit of a break and just sort of experiment with my uploads. But for the time being, I'm probably just gonna go back to sticking with Smash. Y'all seem to really like that mini-series where I went over the in-game tips, so I've got some similar ideas in store for the future. Also, I didn't really know how I should mention this or how I should talk about it, but it wouldn't feel right for me to not mention the current situation going on with Ukraine and Russia. I'm not going to get super deep into it, most of you probably know a decent amount, and I'm certainly not a great political source, but this unjust war has caused extreme amounts of damage and death in Ukraine, and has already forced 1 million people to flee the country and counting. Really, all I can ask of you watching is to just keep yourself educated on the current matters as best you can. And if you got the spare change and desire, some donations to various charities to help out would always be nice. I'll leave a link to several that I find in the description. But outside of that, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video and keep supporting the channel going forward. And of course, I'd like to thank my resplendent patrons Skully, Burbo, Raighne, Sylvan700, and everyone else for their continued support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.